yourself in position to do that.
And we're live on the air. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this edition of the Best Damn Sports Show in Franklin County for Wednesday, October 2nd, 2019. I am the Nighthawk, along with our studio director, Zach. And for the first time in nearly 5 months, the Three Stooges are together, Mo, Larry, and Curly Joe.
Funny you mentioned that. I saw at the end of a Three Stooges just yesterday. When the bomb comes through, the big shell, and they get on it and go off into the sunset.
Yeah, it's still on TV. So I was out on the golf course today. I didn't see you guys.
It was wet.
I was one of, I counted a total of 5 people golfing. Pulled in the parking lot. It was like vacant. But it was 51 degrees when I started.
Your kind of day, Hawk.
52, right. It was a really nice day. It was a little damp, but I'll be out there tomorrow at 4:15 for a quick 9. So great time of the year to golf.
Must be car path only today.
Well, being such a great athlete such as I am, I walk.
Right.
But I did see one guy in a cart, and he was playing cart path only. Yeah. But just the perfect time to walk. I was telling my buddy Joe that just breathing in this autumn air, low 50s, it just felt wonderful.
It's a great time of year if we're just leading into spring instead of winter.
Yeah. So,
how much rain did we get yesterday? I
heard my kid, I wasn't up in Enosburg, but Ian said that the Missisquoi he said it was overflowing in places today. Sounds like there was a ton of rain. I went to Lake George. I was in Lake George 2 nights ago with my buddy Alex, but boy, when I came back to feed the kid's grandmother's cat last night down on the Georgia shore, it was pouring, but I did see some stats, I guess, last night. Someplace had about 2 inches. Burlington had about 2/3. I'm sure localized, but Ian said the Missisquoi was way up.
I would bet you we must have had at least 2 or 3
Is that right? That's a lot of rain.
Because if you look at the rain, it was up near the Canadian border, really got it.
Yeah, it sounds like
the pond by 14.
It must have been.
That and the other big pond, it was highly noticeable.
Because the lake's been funny. The lake has, there's been some rain lately. Yeah. The lake's been stuck at about 94.2. I got to think with this, we'll finally see the lake start getting up there.
Well, I've got a friend of mine who's a farmer in Fairfield over his place is on Pumpkin Ridge.
Yeah.
And every time I tell him, boy, we got 2 inches of rain last night, he says, we didn't get any.
Yeah, it's so localized.
And think about it, what's that, 10 miles away?
Yeah, and summer, now we're into early fall, but summer storms are just incredibly localized.
Yeah. So, okay, we'll talk baseball. And
was there a game last night?
I'll have the first word.
You were awake. You were awake. It's funny, I saw Michael Wilbon on, I guess, ESPN. He emailed Tony Kornheiser, who I assume is a pretty big Nats guy.
Yep.
So Tony, what does Tony do? Tony falls asleep 45 minutes before the 8th inning. Wilbon said he was going to give him a lot of grief on PTI tonight.
Yep. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you. Listen,
it's only been 50 years.
Were you holding out some hope at that point?
Duke, here's what I was thinking.
I wasn't.
I have license plates for my car. The Nats are on there right now. So late in the game, I'm thinking, tomorrow I have to go put my New York Giant license plate on. They were lifeless, okay? Now, they made the mistake of pitching Max Scherzer. Strasburg should have been the starter.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for Max Scherzer, Hall of Fame pitcher, he's 35 years old. He sustained back injury back in July, okay? And he was out for about 6 weeks. Since he came back, his ERA was 4.47, just a normal schlub. Now, he does give up home runs because he doesn't walk people.
Yeah.
So he
was pitching 100 miles an hour.
Right. So
I thought he got screwed on the first batter, though, and I'm sure he was bitter.
It was close.
I thought
first batter, he walks him.
He wasn't happy.
And then second batter, first pitch, the catcher, Grandal, hits one out of the right field
what
fence.
A start.
So, but the Nats, I think, second most runs scored or third in the National League. Quietly, they did that.
Yeah.
And again, it was lifeless. Just nothing going on in the game. If you were just a casual baseball fan, you would have been bored to tears. Well, the infamous 8th inning came. I think there were 2 outs. Michael A. Taylor, who was in the minor leagues most of the year, gets hit by pitch. There was
That was weird. Yeah, I was
the
watching.
knob in the hand,
Yeah.
but there was insufficient evidence to overturn the ruling.
And they called the initial call was hit batsman, go to
Right,
first
right.
baseman.
So he's at first. Ryan
I didn't
Zimmerman,
like that call.
15-year Nat vet, comes up to pinch hit.
Bloop.
The expression getting sawed off. He swings,
Really?
Duke.
Yeah, I'm watching.
His
I
handle
saw most of the game.
breaks right here, and I guess you can call it a Texas leader.
Dumps it into center.
Right, plops into center. Now, Anthony Rendon, who my
Your guy.
opinion should be the MVP, but he came up just to show you the greatness of Rendon. How
Very good
unselfish-
discipline, great
How
discipline.
unselfish, because a lot of guys said, "I'm going to be the star here." He took a walk.
Yeah, good, very
Right.
disciplined.
So next batter, 20-year-old Juan Soto,
2020.
who's got all the hitting records, all but Mel Ott. You know,
Does he
He's
really
got the
for-
second most home runs
For somebody that young.
at 20, right?
20?
Under 21.
Wow.
He's got the most extra base hits other than Mel Ott.
Wow.
And so he comes up and hits a liner to right field. Now, the only person I could imagine that would have made that play in right field like it occurred was me. I've done that a few times in my softball career, where you let a blooper.
Boy, the guy just missed. Just
Well,
totally missed it.
Duke, when he went, I noticed his body wasn't squared to the ball.
Right.
Now, obviously, he was going for all in one motion, get the ball, throw it in to prevent a run.
But there was no way he would. I mean, two
Probably-
runs were going to score
Yeah.
on that. There's no.
He should have got.
Right.
Hey,
Should have
just
stopped
play
the
it
ball.
safe.
Right,
Safely
exactly.
until we got a tie game.
And so he misses it, turns back and slips. So easily 3-run score. Juan Soto made the
screws up at
mistake.
that point.
You're right. I mean, he should be chastised for that. It's an important run, knowing how
3 runs
bad
scored, though.
the Nats bullpen is.
Yeah.
Now, the key to the game where the Brewers out-managed was the decision not to have Drew Pomerantz continue to pitch.
God, what a
He pitched
Drew
two
Pomerantz.
brilliant innings, no hits. He was pitching great.
Why'd they take their starter out?
He
How many innings did Scherzer go?
Scherzer went 5, but you're talking about Brandon Woodruff.
Who gave up 1 run in 5 innings?
Right.
The guy was mowing them down.
Aren't the
He
Brewers
pitched
are
probably
just bullpen?
anymore. He's had an oblique issue,
Yeah, really.
and just came back not that long ago. They were hoping to get 4 good innings out of him. They got 5, and he was great.
He was lights out.
Yeah.
Brewers love. I mean, they love their bullpen.
Yeah,
though, right?
they do. But Pomerantz, and I'm thinking to myself, and now Pomerantz, for the viewers out there, you beloved Red Sox fans, he was on the Sox last year, didn't pitch that great, free agent.
Did nothing.
Signs up either with the Giants or the Padres.
I think Padres.
Okay, and laid a stink bomb. He was a starter, and they said
So did they trade him or did they just throw him out?
they gave him the cut.
And the Brewers picked him up.
And the Brewers picked him up. And I was telling Joe on the golf course,
Why would they have
when you
even
get
done
these
that?
pitchers not quite good enough to be a starter, then they're probably a lot better than relief pitchers. And the Brewers threw him in the bullpen, and he pitched pretty well in the pen for the
Really?
Brew Crew. So he
Yeah, he
pitched,
looked great last night.
Again, great. So I'm thinking, even though his at-bat was you're up, pitching's the name of the game. And then you put Hader in the 9th inning.
Right, he's pretty wild.
Right. And
Literally
the history
figuratively.
of relief pitchers, I can't explain why. When you put them in an inning early,
Well, the thing is, Hader's given up a lot of stuff this year.
he has.
Yeah, it sounds like not a good
And I think maybe they've overused him.
Yeah,
And maybe the other thing is people figure out what he's got.
yeah.
And
And they made the point after the game, I think, they don't have to worry about his like slider or curveball much. They're just wait on the fastball
Yeah,
and
yeah.
hit one once in a while.
those guys can hit 100-mile-an-hour fastball.
Yeah. So Scherzer didn't have it. He pitched 5 innings, 4 hits. Unfortunately, 2 of them were home runs.
Yeah.
Now, Strasburg comes in, and Strasburg is lights out. He pitches.
All you're doing with that is zapping. Here we go.
Say,
Like that.
say it, Duke.
Go ahead, caller. You're on the Best Damn Sports Show in Franklin County with all 3 of us for first time in months. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Anybody there? Wait, Dave, next, all you're doing is punching that.
Okay.
I don't know. Zach, any idea what's going on with that call? No?
Do you know
No,
what?
call
I was
me.
just looking at the screen, the monitor, three of us. Do you know collectively we're over 200 years old?
Oh boy, that's
Nice of you to group you two young guys with me. too.
wow, wow, that's old.
I don't know what to say here.
That's what. So,
Well, I thought after the first two batters, I'm thinking that is so typical for the Nationals. Scherzer gets screwed on a strikeout. The guy gets a walk, and then boom. You know what they call that? They call that an ambush home run now. That's a new tech.
An ambush home run.
I've never heard of that.
The new term now for all these good pitchers who give up a home run by the guy getting a first pitch.
okay.
No,
It's
is that
called
right?
an ambush home run.
Yep.
So anyway, they boom, it's 2-0, and then it's 3-0, and I'm thinking, oh my God, these guys, they just can't get out of their own way.
Yep. Yep. They've never. And for the record, for me, I did not consider that a playoff win. To me, it's a play in. It's an opportunity to get into the playoffs.
But you'll take it.
I'll take it. And I'll be honest with you. I don't know if that good Christian side of me, I felt bad for Milwaukee last night.
I saw
because
the manager late last night just with an interview. He was pretty.
Craig
upfront.
Counsell's a good.
Well,
guy.
these one and done games, they're tough.
And I heard the right fielder, who screwed up.
He's probably-
He was totally upfront. Just stood
a
by
kid.
his locker and answered a million questions
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah, just-
you want a deal? It's that guy. Yeah.
Hello, welcome to Franklin County's best sports show.
Yeah, how we doing, guys?
Okay.
We're good.
We're good.
Time, I think my other phone must have died on me, or I bumped it. I switched phones here.
Might have been us, but hey, good to hear from you.
Yeah. Number one, congratulations, Nighthawk. What a game! Now that had to have been the best national / expo game you've ever watched.
I will say this on record, it was the
Interesting.
biggest surprise. I mean, I really had the season over. I really did. They did nothing at all during the game to even give a hint of we're going to hit the ball.
Going into the game, what were you thinking? You weren't optimistic?
Oh, I thought we were going to win. Scherzer against Woodruff,
Yeah.
playing at home. But yeah, after that first half inning,
Yep. Yeah, I watched a bit of it, and like you said, I mean, it was probably one of the most boring games you'd ever want to watch.
Yeah, pretty dull
And I
game.
watched it. It was about the Pomerantz was pitching, and he looked sharp. And I said, "Geez, maybe somebody has found the right role for this guy to pitch."
Yeah.
And I went to bed and I thought of you. I said, poor Nighthawk. There's not a better baseball fan in the world." I thought to myself, I bet he watched probably 160 out of 162 ball games this year. You know, he deserves a victory. So I got up this morning there, showered, jumped on the couch, took my phone, and I go, what? The Nationals 4-3? And I watched the highlights and saw it all. This is a guy I talk about every week with you. This kid is just, you talk about clutch.
yeah.
And that poor right fielder, the only guy probably smiling after he missed it was Bill Buckner. Now Bill Buckner has some pretty good company, although I love Bill Buckner to death. But, I mean, it was the same type, you know, pick your head up before you catch a ball, you know.
Hey, caller?
I felt bad for that guy.
Caller?
I mean, geez,
Yeah.
that whole season was that one play.
Caller, we played on the same softball team many decades ago. Did you ever see me make that same play?
Yeah.
Let the ball get.
Never, nothing got by you.
No, that's not true.
I mean, yes and no. Again, had he made the play, it's a tie game. Who knows what happens after that? Should have been a 3-3 game had he, not screwed
Well,
up.
it might have not even been tied. They might have only scored one. He was coming in hard to get that hop and make a bullet throw to the plate. So it might have been a very close play at the plate on that second run.
See, I think so
That's
too,
hard.
Duke. Because
Really? That's hard for me to
That
picture.
ball Soto hit was just a cannon shot.
Yeah, that's true.
And the kid would have gotten the second bounce, and just the way he positioned himself, ready all in one motion for one
I
throw.
would have put my money on the second run, but no, that may be a good
Yeah.
point.
Now, with all that being said, we're fortunate
That was a real good game, and that's a good kind of victory to take on to the next series. You know, it's certainly a emotional victory, and it kind of lifts you up to whoever you're playing next. You know, and baseball more than anything, you're never really out of the game, and that certainly proves it.
Yeah. Now, I've got the Dodgers winning the series. I've got Dodgers and Astros in the World Series, but with the nature of the way the Nats won last night, to me, they're playing with monopoly money now.
Yeah.
They shouldn't not have won the game, and now they can play extreme loosey-goosey.
That's the point.
There. Now, what the Nats have going for them, they used up Scherzer and Strasburg last night, but isn't it pretty nice to start game one with Patrick Corbin? I mean, they just got 3 number 1 pitchers.
Well, I
right
wish the Yankees had picked him up.
He was that close signing with the Yankees.
It was one more year.
Yankees didn't give him exactly what he wanted. Yeah. So Corbin will go tomorrow night, and they think that Strasburg, he only, I think, threw 34 pitches. Pitched really well in those 3 innings. Could go Friday night, so we'll see.
And then Scherzer comes back in DC
Sunday. Yeah.
Huh.
Excuse me. I see the Nats have offered and done a very nice contract, and he basically said, kind of like Mookie, thank you, but
They're kind of like Bryce Harper. It's another Bryce Harper thing here.
Right.
Anthony, we're going to give you a ton of money if you stay. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah,
anyway,
so
guys.
the Washington Post reported the Nats
7 years, 210, 30 mil a year, right?
210, 215. And I think Rendon is 29.
Wow.
And the thing with Bryce Harper was he was only 26. So I think 7 years is more than fair, especially when you're playing third base, which is a reflex position.
Well, I'll tell you what.
And Scott Boras, your favorite buddy, is his agent, and he probably said, no, don't take it.
Well, I'll give you an interesting thing I read today on a couple of Yankees. Didi Gregorius and Betances both were offered multi-year deals last year.
And both
said no. We'll go and be free agents. Well, Didi got hurt, and he only hit 250 this year. Wow. And if he doesn't do much, the best he'll probably get is a qualifying offer.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And Betances really had nothing.
You know,
this year.
David, I don't even know why you would give him that.
Well, Didi, I
would let him walk. Have Torres over there. That Mahahy at second. Ursula at third. I mean, I would definitely. And Andujar. I mean, I would trade him. I mean, these other guys have stepped in and more than did their job.
Yes, but rather than just talk about those guys, the point I'm getting at is that you should take a bird in the hand's worth 2 in the bush. For a lot of these guys, you think about your other shortstop you had a few years ago with the Nationals.
Oh.
That had a $100 million contract. He ended up getting a $10 million contract.
Yeah, Ian Desmond.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in today's world, it's like with J.D. Martinez. If he thinks he's going to opt out and get more than $60 million for the next 3 years, there's some hemp fields out here in Vermont that he can come smoke them.
One thing JD could do, it might be smart if he did do, who knows, he gets 23 mil next year, then he goes down to 19 mil the next 2, but he can opt out after the following year. It might make sense to hang 1 more year, and if he's still hitting a ton, maybe he does a little better, but boy, I'm still thinking he's opting out.
And let me give you a name who played against the Nats last night, and I know this caller likes this guy, and he could only sign for a 1-year contract last year. Mike Moustakas.
Yeah.
He's had a really good career.
He's a good player.
And I think he might have signed a 1-year, $10 million contract. Now, if the Nats...
And the year before, he could only get 1 year.
Yeah. If the Nats, in fact, do lose Rendon, I would have no problems taking Moustakas on my team.
These guys, these $30 million a year guys, they better take the money and shut up, because with teams like the Yankees and the Dodgers, they aren't giving those contracts out anymore.
Well, I read a rumor today, Betts going to the Dodgers for Jock Peterson and Matata, the pitcher, which isn't a bad get because Betts only has 1 year left on his contract.
Yeah.
But
Whoever gets bets, I mean, do you think they would take a chance? Do you think? I'm thinking.
I don't think they'd give up much if they don't have him signed.
And
And
I mean, wouldn't you think the team that gets him would try to nail him down to a long-term deal, or not necessary?
yeah, Collar. I mean,
they'll have a year to do it.
yeah, Collar. The Red Sox ownership did say, and I quote, "Will be difficult to sign both Martinez and Betts." As a lifelong fan, your preference, if you're only going to keep one of them, who?
Did ownership? I saw a writer say that. I'm not sure.
I've ownership right here.
They're talking about trying to get under the salary cap.
Exactly. I'll
Cutting.
get into that.
Right, so
well, if they don't get under this year, they're at 50% rate.
Really?
So they want to get under. Now the Yankees will probably go over the salary cap
You
this year.
know, I would try, if I was the ownership and wanted to be competitive, I would like JD to walk and trade Betts. Now hitting, everybody's talking about the hitting with the Red Sox. That is not their problem. Their problem is pitching. Chris Sale, my favorite Red Sox, I love him to death. This guy will never see 150 innings again in his life. Erod had a good year, but he's a number 3 pitcher. And David Price, really, you'll never know what you get. The Red Sox need pitching. They have good hitting. They have a good bunch of youth coming up that can hit the ball. Now, you can sign Betts, you can sign JD. You still have no starting pitching, and you're not going to win every game 13-12. They've got to start rebuild. Like Mookie's money, you can get a A.J. Cole or some of these other, Martin from Tampa Bay will be available. You got to start with your pitching, then worry about your hitting. Hitters are all over the league. You can get bargains like May 1st on your hitters for $2 or $3 million, but pitching wins the game. And they have a $230 million contract, and again, like I say, Chris Sale, I love the guy to death, but I don't trust his arm.
Caller, you make an interesting point that I never gave any thought, and the Nats are a good example. Bryce Harper left town. He had 34 home runs, 114 RBIs, blah, blah. But hitting
about 250 or something?
Outfield, he had 260. Outfield is easily replaceable. That's a great point. You let both JD go and you let Mookie go. You take that money. The Red Sox are still a fashionable place to play.
For the record, Rick Porcello's $20 million or whatever. That's coming.
Right. Then you go out. Garrett Cole probably would not mind pitching for the Red Sox. And right now, I think Garrett Cole's the Cy Young Award winner. Garrett Cole's still young.
There's another team that might want him too.
But what are
Like the Yankees?
I tried to get him
Tampa
before
this year, and he could be had for 13-14 million, and he's probably one of the top strikeout guys in the American League, and he's good for 15 wins a year. But it all starts with pitching. They have a very fine bunch of hitters. So if you like I say, you can sign Mookie and JD, and with no pitching, you're never going to win.
No, their bullpen is not that good either.
Although the bullpen did turn around. It was horrible early. It cost them.
Yeah.
But the bullpen actually was one of the better bullpens in the league in the last 3 months.
Wow.
But horrible early.
But down goes Brazier. That's one of my buddies at work is a big Red Sox fan, and I would send him a text.
The bullpen.
Down goes Brazier, like down
Yeah.
goes Frazier. And
Well, caller, let me ask this. Would you take Garrett Cole, and if you could, knowing that you'd have to let Mookie and JD go?
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Like I said, hitting has not been the Red Sox problem. You look at our left side of the infield, third base and shortstop. These guys are putting up, monster numbers, and that's only 2 of the players. You got to have pitching to keep you in the game.
Yeah.
You can't start every game down 3-0, 4-1.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't even be a second thought with me.
Yeah, for the record, the Sox scored the 5th most runs in the American League this year. So.
though, if I were the Red Sox, I'd be a little weary of spending another $200 million on a pitcher. because the last couple guys they spent big money on, they haven't really got their money's worth out of.
They're insane if they even think
And
about it.
the aforementioned Max Scherzer, as great as he has been with Washington, Father Time always wins. He's 35 years old. And he had that back injury. There's no guarantee. You know how back injuries are, David. You're never the same. There's no guarantee that come next season, Scherzer's going to be back to his dominant self. However, with that being said, I'm a big Garrett Cole fan because he came up with the Pirates. I remember when he got drafted, and the kid was good. I'm not sure why the Pirates let him go, but he is as good as it gets.
Well, the Yankees tried really hard to get him before Houston did.
Yeah.
And he is good, and just like Corbin is good. But the thing is, Cashman, the last few years, he draws the line in the sand.
Yeah. But I'm thinking Cole's going to get $250 million. I think $250 million is.
And you know what?
And what I'm saying, if you're going to spend the money, spend it on pitching.
See, I'm with you.
If you're just going to save and get rid of Mookie and Martinez, fine. But if you're considering that 50 or 55 million, that you're going to spend it anyway. So what I'm saying is spend it on pitching.
I think you're going to be stuck with J.D. Martinez.
Otherwise, we'll never contend in that division for years.
I'm not sure stuck's the word I'd use. The guy's had more RBIs than anybody else in the majors the last
nobody
2 seasons.
is going to pay him more than $63 million for the next 3
But I'm
years.
just saying, if he stays with the Red Sox, I hardly consider that bad news for the Red Sox.
But he's a DH.
I think he played about 60 games. Yeah, well, it's the American League.
Of course, we got a guy like that too. We got Stanton.
He played 50 more games than David Ortiz did.
Now, caller, I remember you calling on the show many years ago. We talked about the position of designated hitter. You and I like not to have a permanent designated hitter. We want our manager to manage, where Dave Handy needs a night off from the field. David, your designated hitter tonight. We'll put Duke in on Friday night. The Hawk, and you know what I mean? You can use that for respites.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'd kill for the National League and
the American League is like a softball league as far as managing.
Right, manager, right. Why do you even need save the money and
Yeah. If I was an American League manager, I probably would take up smoking because I would just sit back and just puff away during the game.
And the National League, what is it a given?
Again, just make myself clear. Mookie is a great player, and JD is a great player. And what I was saying is just my opinion only. I would rather, if we're going to spend that money, I would rather have it on pitching. And I'm certainly not taking the greatness away from either of these guys because they're, year in and year out, they're great ball players.
Yep.
Yeah,
Well, hey, Mookie Betts is a terrific player. He's a top 5 player in all of baseball.
Yeah. I
He's
certainly
really
think
good.
so.
And I agree with the call. It's all about pitching. I mean, the Nats bullpen was the worst in baseball, and they were 19-31. On May 24th, and they won 2/3 of their games. They ended up with a 93-69 record.
The St. Louis Blues of baseball,
right? It's because they had Scherzer, Strasburg, Corbin, and Anibal Sanchez. And the caller's right. It's the pitching just kept in constantly. And we lost Harper. We may lose Rendon, but the money we save on Rendon, which will be at least $30 million, maybe we go on the Garrett Cole sweepstakes.
You can get
Madison
a lot of players.
Bumgarner. There's 5 good pitchers available. And Bumgarner, for the record.
What happened to the Red Sox this year when you don't have that pitching staff? You can't put one of them streaks together where you win 13 out of 17 ball games. And those are the teams that win like that. That's when you get separation between your team and who's ever under you. And the Red Sox were never able to do that this year. So, that hurt them pretty badly. But
yeah, you're right about that.
Winter time's a great time, the hot stove league, and we'll certainly see what happens.
Well,
I'll
thank
let
you.
you guys go. Great show. Good seeing everybody back, and have a good evening.
Hey,
Thanks,
thanks for
caller.
calling. Thanks a lot.
Duke, Red Sox owners John Henry and Tom Warner
So you have it right there, huh?
intend to slash payroll to get under the luxury tax
Punch.
threshold next season, saying they fired Dave Dombrowski because of differing opinions on how to build for the future. The pair made their first public comments last Friday
Nice
since
of them.
parting with Dombrowski. They said no matter who replaces Dombrowski, Alex Cora will return for a third season as manager.
That's not big of them.
Boston has baseball's biggest payroll for 2 straight seasons and is on the track to pay $13 million luxury tax this year on a payroll of $243 million. Keep in mind the Tampa Bay Rays started with a $53.5
It's unreal.
million dollar
Gotta
payroll
love the
to start
Rays.
the season for purposes of competitive balance tax, as
Unreal.
it formally is known. That's $37 million over the tax threshold.
Wow.
Next year's threshold goes up to $208 million, and the Red Sox will be helped by the departure from the payroll of $56.82 million invested in 5 players. Rick Porcello, $20,625,000. Duke's favorite player, Pablo Sandoval, $18,445,000. Mitch Moreland, $6.5 million. Steve Pierce, $6.25 million, and Edward Nunez, $5 million. If the Red Sox exceed the threshold for a third straight season in 2020, their base tax rate would rise from 30 to 50%,
Wow.
and they would be facing surcharges that would raise the rate to 62% at $228 million, David,
Wow.
and 95% if they're up at $248 million, which they would be if they signed bets.
Yeah, because these guys they're getting rid of, Pierce and Moreland, the only 2 guys that the guy they're really only getting relief from is Pablo Sandoval. The rest of those guys, they got to replace those guys with players.
Yeah, I love this. Is Boston Herald yesterday, front page, squeeze play, losing Sox to charge fans more,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
Nice.
And Brock Holt, I know, is your
I'll be-
favorite
I'll be
player.
bitter if he goes.
was on Instagram today saying it's been a great 7 years. Not sure what my future holds.
How much
but-
do you have to pay? What do you have to pay to keep Brock Holt?
Well, here's
Five to
here's-
10 mil?
Here's the story. You wait on the players. Come March 1st, when spring training's opening, the Dave Hanneys of the world will sign for minimum wage.
Look at the Yankees. They got DJ LeMahieu
Yes.
for $12 million a
Don't
year.
forget my man Jacoby Ellsbury.
Yeah, we got. He's
What's his story? Is he?
oh,
off
he's
the
getting
books?
ready. He's going to be ready for season next year
He's got one more year.
too.
Are you kidding me?
He signed a 7-year deal.
Wow.
He hasn't played for
Yeah.
almost 3 years.
Yeah. The state of baseball has had its worst attendance in 16 years. Total attendance was
Really?
68.49 million, down 1.2% from 2018. Represents the 6th decline in attendance in the last 7 years. Attendance is down a whopping 14% from its height in 2007.
Wow.
Now, if your car sales, David, were down 14% from 2007, I'm sure some white shirt would come in from Detroit
You're darn right they
to
would.
visit the Handy brothers. But there are serious problems with baseball. Strikeouts were the 12th year in a row.
I hate
They set a major league record.
strikeouts are
Home runs
killing me.
were a major league record, which, as the caller said, it's baseball's turned into softball.
Twins beating the Yanks by what? 1 homer?
Duke,
307 to
yeah.
306?
14 teams this year set all-time home run records, which should not happen. 100 wins, 4 teams?
Hey, are the guys back on the steroids?
And 100 lost teams, I think, were 5. Okay, this should not be happening at all. There's such a disparity between the good and the bad. And even the Nats color guy, FP Santangelo, said, he goes, it's better to lose 100 games than it is to win 81 games. He says, playing 500 doesn't do any good for you. You lose 100 games, rebuild your team. But I think there's, just as a fan watching the game, and I don't want to say, wow, it wasn't this way when I was a kid. However, how many times when you watch a ball game now, David, do you ever hear the expression hit and run or run and hit?
Never.
Never. Never, never, never. Duke gets a hit, Handy comes up, but, no, they don't.
This year was better because I listen to a lot of Yankee games. Last year, I've told you guys this before, they had 1 million guys lead off double, not even score.
Yeah.
At least this year, LeMahieu brought the attitude. move the guy, hit the ball. They had fewer strikeouts, more hits, not necessarily home runs.
What a pickup! That guy. What a great.
The
pickup.
guy that the surprise of all surprises was Urshelo.
Yeah.
Guy was a 300 hitter. He's a lifetime 2-0 hitter,
David, all summer.
and he's a Gold Glove fielder, which I did tell you he was a good fielder.
Is it Joe Orsello?
Gio.
Gio. Now, they were guys I'm reading, and again, I'm an expert on the National League. Don't follow the American League hardly at all, other than the Red Sox, a little bit of Yankees because of the show. But I was reading stuff like for the Yankees, who is this guy? Names I have never even heard. And how the Yankees won 100 games this year with the amount of injuries.
Had 37 or 38 guys on the injured list.
Aaron Boone won't get it, but he should be in consideration for
I
manager
think
of the year.
there's a lot of talk that he will get it.
Bob Melvin with the A's, low payroll. Kevin Cash, even lower payroll.
Yeah, that's true.
But Aaron Boone did an outstanding job this year.
They
Do they like him? Do the players
they
like playing
love
for
him.
him? Yeah.
And that game where he got kicked out and he told the umpire that his players were bleeping savages. The players love that, and then they all had T-shirts made up that they were savages. And
No, the Yanks had a heck of a year.
it'll be interesting to see.
Fortunately, they're still probably not the best team in the American League.
Well,
You don't buy that necessarily?
I think I don't want to say anything, but I think they kind of tanked it the last week because they didn't really. They just soon play Minnesota, and that first round series is either going to be Oakland or Tampa, which are tough, especially Oakland. So I think they figured, well, hey, we'll take Minnesota, and if we aren't home team, so what? And because they didn't try too hard to win any of those games in the last week.
Yeah.
And who knows what'll happen. I mean, they got a good team. I was telling somebody last night, they go, your starting pitching's not that good. I said, you know what? In the playoffs, the starters only go 4 or 5 innings. Even Scherzer's and Strasburg's, 5 innings are gone. And if the game goes from the 5th inning to the 9th inning, nobody's better than we are.
Yeah.
Because we're loaded. Plus, they're going to have CC. They're going to have plenty of guys to pitch those last 4 or 5 innings.
Yeah. And the other side of the coin, on the golf course, talking to Joe, Corbin will pitch tomorrow night. Friday, they're hopeful that Strasburg, but he just pitched 3 innings last night. So I said, Joe, if they say just give me 5 good innings, the problem with the Nats is they have a horrible bullpen. So another thing too, just very sad when I hear it. I'm listening to Mike Rizzo, the GM of the Nats, the other day. He mentioned the cybermetrics department of the team. There are 9 employees in this. You know how you have mechanics, salesmen, and all this? Well, we punch in, and morning, Dave, I'm one of 9 people working in the cybermetric department of a base. Can you imagine white shirt and a tie and just number crunching every single day?
Well, that's why baseball is tough to watch now.
And you look in the thing, the manager has a folder this big, and it's like Richard Carpethwaite, spreadsheets on everything.
Well, they with the shifts, a ball hit on the ground, ball in play on the ground, the batting average is like 50 points lower than it used to be. So if you hit the ball on the ground, so now it's either a home run or strikeout.
I guess it's obviously asking too much for these stupid hitters to go the other way and punt.
God
And get a
forbid.
hit every at bat they want, just about.
I agree.
There's no third baseman, there's no shortstop, and you can't hit the ball that way.
Pathetic.
Can you imagine, Duke, if a manager is getting interviewed and the interviewer asks him, why'd you do this? And he says, I went with my gut. He would be fired. There is no gut in baseball anymore. It's the white shirt and ties that run the game.
For most, so there's some teams that are, I like to think Cora once in a while will
Managers
go with
don't
his gut.
set their lineup. That is done in an office.
Oh, the managers are really automatons.
Yeah,
that movie,
really.
What's the word?
automatons.
Very nice word, huh?
Really, right.
That movie, which I just watched a while ago, Moneyball,
Okay.
that really set the pace because they didn't like it when Hal was doing everything. Because he said, well, that guy can't... They didn't care.
The author of the book Moneyball, I just read Michael Lewis, Liar's Poker. He's a great financial guy, but he's got a bunch of. I just read his first book, but if you want to get into just Wall Street craziness and stuff, that's the guy. He's outstanding.
I'll tell you what I saw today to change the subject.
Wait, I just want to finish baseball.
Okay.
Managers. Ned Yost quietly resigned.
Brad Osmus gets booted after 1 year with the
Kansas
Angels.
City. And the other,
Madden
Mr.
got
Madden,
fired.
Bruce Bochy also resigned.
Yeah, he didn't.
So
thrown out.
he got his 2000 victory last week.
Yeah.
So 2 resignations. Clint Hurdle did not
Canned.
see it coming from Pittsburgh. Small market team, no
Yeah.
payroll. Brad Osmus, who was a former manager of Detroit, fired, signed by the LA Angels this year, 1 year. He's history. Joe Madden, who I don't like. I wouldn't play for him, period. And I'm missing someone else.
Another manager.
Yeah. But, of course, Madden is highly rumored to be going to
Angels.
Anaheim. Yeah.
Because he was
Early
with them for like 30 years.
31 years with them. But, Farrell.
John Farrell.
John Farrell.
Lobsterman John Farrell.
Intimated today that he would like to get one of the positions.
I'll tell you what,
probably-
he isn't getting any of
No.
them. He was terrible.
Yeah.
Probably tired of going out in lousy weather and to
Yeah.
catch a few. He's a lobsterman.
So I would really like to, because Joe Madden's very popular, get the behind scenes between
Joe Madden gets the job.
Madden
obviously.
and Theo. There must have been some real bad blood between those two guys.
Well,
Cubs didn't have a real good year.
hey, the Cubs,
They folded the last week of the season.
Theo put together a World Series team. He put together a World Series team. He got Madden to manage it. And you figure they underachieved for the last 2-3 years. Look at St. Louis. They had nothing. How in the hell did they end up in the playoffs?
David, can I tell you, I have more respect for the franchise of St. Louis than any team in baseball. They're go ahead, name me all the stars on that.
I don't know
There's
anybody.
nobody.
Nobody.
But they just constantly go out and win. They draw 45,000 people a game. That is just a solid franchise.
Yeah, they are.
And
Their fans were ugly, though, until the All-Star break. Because I would listen to MLB and some guy from St. Louis would call in and say, how come we didn't get this guy?
Yeah.
Of course, it took a little while. I know one guy they got, Goldschmidt.
Paul Goldschmidt from
He's a
D-back.
ball player.
Yeah. So lastly, Twins and Yanks, 5-game series. What do you have here?
Yankees in 4.
Okay.
Really?
And then it's going to be, the real World Series is going to be the Yankees and the Astros.
See,
And that'll be 7 games, and that'll be
good.
Yeah.
That'll be really good. Because I'll tell you what, none of the National League teams are as good as either of those two teams.
the Dodgers are a pretty good team. They got Rio, Kershaw, Walter Buehler. That's pretty formidable.
They can't
Boy,
play.
talk about pressure, just like your Nats. I mean, Dodgers have lost 2 straight World Series.
Yeah.
They can't be going into this too
They
late.
don't
They're going into this, boy,
have-
we better not lose again.
Yeah.
The Astros are, by acclamation, the best team.
Astros had the better record,
They did.
get
And
the 7th game.
and they are really, hey, when you got Derek Cole and you got Verlander
Pick them up for
and
Greinke.
you got
Zach Greinke.
all the other guys they got in there, this kid they got is an animal that's a hitter. He's not Lopez. I can't think of his
I
name.
can't remember.
And they got George Springer, and they're
they got a good team.
just loaded.
Yeah. So
that'll be. I hope that'll be a good
Yeah.
series.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll. But hey, the Yankees got to beat Minnesota. Minnesota's not a laydown. Minnesota can hit, and they're better than they used to be.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
they
that's
get
for
their
sure.
hands full.
So David, I'm going to let you turn the page.
All right. I watched today. I watched a clip of a running back of the New York Giants running at practice today, and it
Number
was not
26.
Wayne Gallman. It was Saquon Barkley. They figure he'll be back in 2 weeks now.
Really, and you got your good receiver, Mr. Was it Golden Tate?
Golden Tate.
Isn't that big news for you? I've heard some people raving about him on.
Now, Dave,
Different
I have a
sports
question
sites.
for you. We have Minnesota this week, and we'll get into the Giants, but let's be honest. The Giants beat the second worst team in football.
I don't think so. I think they beat the worst team in football.
Even worse than Miami?
Could they have played any
the
worse?
Redskins.
I think BFA would have given the Giants a better game.
So Saquon Barkley, 4 to 8 weeks with a high
So
ankle
they're
sprain.
talking maybe a couple weeks now.
Now, you always go the high end
Boy,
because
don't bring
they
him-
take
don't bring
forever.
him back too
It's not a
soon.
serious
But
injury.
he's running. He's
He was
running.
running
Really?
today. So
Really?
no way Sunday. But the following week,
Really?
unfortunately,
You might
David,
It's a short week.
it's
That's
a
why
Thursday night
Against the
game
Pats, right?
against New England. They're a pretty good team. Why throw them against the Wolves?
I don't think-
I would.
I'd save him for
When you
another,
come to a franchise player-
A game they're probably going to lose. You never know.
Oh, it'll
But
be a 10 or 2-digit.
I would absolutely save him for another week. Too.
Well, their defense is still suspect at best.
You're very polite. Now, last week on the show, you were golfing last week?
Last week,
hey,
yes, I
serious
was.
car duties.
Oh yeah, it
I
was.
thought you went golfing.
I did.
Not around here.
I
yeah,
I
he had a
played
car
at a
thing.
golf course near Providence, Rhode Island.
Okay.
It was for GM Financial. It was strictly.
David,
Very, very important
I
car
just
business,
like
right?
how you take it for the team. Somebody has to go golf.
Yeah.
All right, I'll do it.
Well, I wouldn't
it-
have normally done it because it's a long way to go just for one day of golf.
You drove down there?
Yeah, but my daughter Emmy lives in Hollis, New Hampshire.
No, that's cool.
So the
you
next
saw her
night
on the way back.
I
then?
did. I stayed
that's
at her
good.
house.
That's good.
Okay. Now, last week, if I got paid $5 for saying the name Jack Rabbit Jenkins last week, I would be a millionaire. He was horrible against Tampa.
Oh, awful.
I told Duke I have never seen worse defensive back play my entire life. Duke,
Well, then he
trivia
comes
question.
up big. Comes up big.
Guess who
huh?
won the NFC Defensive Player of the
You
Week
got it.
award?
The aforementioned. Is that right? You got players.
Janoris
Jack
Jenkins.
Rabbit Jenkins won. What a turnaround.
I guess he maybe heard. Maybe he took the criticism to heart or something.
Defense played really well, but David's right. I mean, that's an overused term, suspect. However, it's very apropos for the. I think the Giants' defense pretty bad, and they lost their best player on defense,
Conley.
bar none. They picked up
Really?
5th round from Wisconsin. Ryan Connolly is his name.
Guy was playing.
White kid, okay, and he came in during the first game, played really well. Second game, he won the starting position. This kid is a smart tackling machine, and I'm just sitting there saying, wow, what a steal we got here. This kid is going to be very special and makes a play. Nobody hits him, and when you don't get hit and you can't move, it's like
ACL.
ACL out for the year.
is that right? That's
And
good.
that made that suspect defense even more suspicious. Now, we got
Daniel Jones, mixed reviews.
he played better than average. I'd say one fault.
2 picks, one very bad
His
pick.
ball security last week was 2 fumbles. This past week was 2 interceptions.
2 picks, back
one
to back,
he didn't
right?
see the defensive back
He
coming
said
up.
the
on
other
the
was on a lousy throw.
bad throw.
Brady can relate.
And I panicked and said, all right, now that he's facing some adversity here where the ball isn't rolling down the hill for him, now we're going to see if he's any good. Well,
It looked okay. Right?
he was a little, but he came back and he,
Sounds like his key play was what, a 3rd and 13, and it looked like they were going to nail him, and he got a 16-yard game.
he is so smart.
And they did have one other late drive. I saw the score, and one of them was a
mold.
pick 6, right? But 24 points, and so offense scored 17. But I guess they did have a nice drive, and somebody fumbled at about, not Jones, at about the 3 or something.
Wayne
Gallman.
Wayne
So
Gallman.
that could have been-
or was it John Hillman?
I don't think it was
the
Gallman.
the kid
Gallman
they brought
had a
up.
decent game. But anyway, that's probably
Yeah,
could have
they
been
fumbled right at-
another touchdown. So
They,
Jones didn't have a bad week.
Jones brings the Giants a running
Hey, how about
aspect
mobility?
that they've not had.
Yeah.
And
You can say in 50 years since Fran Tarkenton.
well,
Well, I remember a certain play that Eli made against my Pats.
well,
Looked like he could
I've
move
said it
pretty well.
before. I said it before a while ago. I watched the Super Bowl where the last Super Bowl where the Giants beat New England on NFL Network one night. And if you watch that game, you see how nimble Eli is or was.
Well, yeah.
you see how nimble he was and how he was able to keep the play going. These last 2-3 years, Eli's really his mobility's gotten so bad, and all he does is check off.
Now, David, but also can be said that the offensive line the last 4 years
Was absolutely
Tom Brady
atrocious.
wouldn't have won with the Giants. Now, this year, they have an average. I mentioned on the show, Pro Football Focus website that grades out everybody and they had the Giants offensive line ranked 14th in the league, which is
Right in the middle.
And that's all I've been asking for. And my guess is they'll probably draft a tackle next April.
They really need.
I don't think Nate Soldier will be there. That, in fact, I'll guarantee you that they will cut him loose because he's an average player.
And they're paying him
And
pretty
he's
good buckets.
second highest paid offensive lineman in football.
Well, I don't know if they'd get rid of him, but what they really could use. How's that pass rusher from LSU
The Pats
doing?
could use Nate right about now.
How's that pass rusher from LSU doing that everybody wanted the Giants to get instead of taking Jones?
That was
Not great.
Josh Allen out of Kentucky.
Is he? Who's he?
He's playing for Jacksonville. They had the number 7 pick.
Okay.
And again, I've told the story because Selene Farrell was picked early from Clemson.
Oh, yeah.
I think Oakland took him. So that brought Allen down to us. And I'm sitting there doing the draft saying, no, we're getting Josh Allen.
Yeah.
The New York Giants select from Duke University quarterback, Daniel Jones. Huh? So I think he's playing pretty good down there. Now, Eli Manning, they won't trade him to a schlumpy team, but I heard it makes sense. Say Tom Brady went down. Okay, just to show you what happened.
Wouldn't that be ironic?
Okay,
Eli replacing
right.
TB12.
Brady goes down. They only had one backup. Was that Jarrett Stidham from Auburn, who
Jarrett
played
Stidham.
really good. Well, they never take Brady out, but like second game of the year, they were up by about 80 points.
Yeah.
They put Stidham in and threw
Lousy
a
interception.
junior high.
Yeah.
It was just terrible. And it was actually, they had a shutout, and there would have been 2 shutouts in a row for the pass defense. And Belichick said, so they went out and got lifelong backup quarterback Cody Kessler. Now, the Patriots are not a very good team. They're a great team. And everything
you
read.
might be a little because you happen to watch their game.
Well,
you wouldn't be saying
I'll
that.
tell you what I told my buddy Joe.
They play good enough to win.
Brady was probably his worst win in his career.
Exactly. So, Joe, when you play your worst and still come out with a win against the 3,
But they were pathetic. The offense was
Brady
pathetic.
goes down, and Mitch Trubisky from Chicago goes. Chicago's got a good team. There's certain teams that can go far in the playoffs that Eli can come in and do it. Now, for a really bad team, the Manning.
I've read he doesn't want to go anywhere.
Right.
He's not going anywhere, and probably he'll retire at the end of the year.
Now, Duke,
I think so. I mean,
Duke,
if he's not playing.
I don't know what your yearly income is, but I do know Eli Manning.
That's about to go down.
Okay, Eli Manning, as a backup quarterback holding a clipboard, makes
20 plus?
makes $1.5 million a game.
A game?
He's got like a $22.5 million salary.
not too
so
bad.
that will lessen your blow when you get knocked out of your starting position. Yeah. But can you imagine that? Knowing you get up Sunday morning and 5 hours.
Do you know how much money he's made with the Giants so far? It's over $200 million.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And he's earned it. He's been a good soldier. He's a professional's professional.
Oh yeah, he's a solid. He's probably
And
not saying much,
he's
but-
only been quality all the way through. Maybe he hangs around and backs up again next year. But they aren't going to pay him
They're not gonna
$25
pay
million.
him.
No, it would be
20
7.5, something
Or
like that.
5 maybe.
Yeah. Now, I saw Archie Manning on the computer last night talking about his grandson. Now, the best Manning athlete was not Peyton, was not Eli. It was their kid Cooper.
Oh, yeah.
Cooper Manning was the best athlete. He had a horrible knee injury in high school and thwarted his pro career. His kid is a freshman in high school playing varsity starting.
Oh, really? That's good.
And
And his
Grandpa
name is
Archie
Arch. Isn't the kid's name?
the kid's name's Arch.
Oh, really?
And Grandpa Archie said, we have one rule: no interviews this year.
Good.
Just
He's a freshman in high school.
freshman high school. So they said, well, how's he compared to Eli and Peyton? He goes, well, he's a little bit more advanced than what they were.
All right, interesting.
And Archie's such a nice guy, and his wife is such a nice. I mean, the Manning family.
Hey, they raise their
they're
kids
class.
right.
Class people.
Raise their kids right.
Yep.
Those guys, you never see any of that Antonio Brown stuff
No.
or any of that crap.
And to this day, David, I do not know when the San Diego Chargers were the first overall pick, took Eli Manning, and they were so adamant against playing in San Diego. I'm a lifelong Giant fan. If I had the choice of playing in Jersey or San Diego as a Giant, I would probably take San
well,
Diego.
I think the ownership in San Diego's always been considered spurious, maybe. They,
Would you read the dictionary?
I don't
before?
know. I've been gone for
What's the
so
word?
long, I've been saving
What was
all
that
these
word?
words. Spurious.
Superior.
I think if you look, hey, look, the team just moved. The San Diego is a great place to live.
If you like pleasant weather,
But
no better place.
But let me tell you this,
Consistent,
David.
nice
but never
weather.
had,
The Giants chose Phillip Rivers. They had the 5th overall pick. And aside from not winning a Super Bowl, Phillip Rivers has
Pretty
had a really good career.
Very good.
I
quarterback.
think the Giants overpaid for Eli because Phillip Rivers and Eli Manning, you shake them out
Yep,
and you get
yep,
about the
yep,
same thing, and the Giants got rid of 2 first-round picks.
Yep.
I'd have taken Phil Rivers and those other 2 first-round picks.
Yeah.
I mentioned great. This is a really
Not
nice.
that Eli's done his job.
Duke, before you go, again, I'm a lonely guy. And Joe's will be 72 in December. So he doesn't.
I'm not too far behind him.
So a lot of sports talk. So he's talking about Stephen Gronkowski missing all those
Boy,
extra
just cut-
points.
He's gone.
So
Catch that news today?
He's on the IR out for the season. He's got to get a left hip operation. So they've got a bevy of players in camp right now trying out.
Does anybody come to mind who's a good kicker who's not employed at the moment?
Kai Farbarth.
Means nothing. Boy, Gostkowski had gotten
You
in. Tough
know
start.
Brian Kemp.
Yes, he kicked for BFA, tried out for the Montreal Alouettes.
Tried out
Did he
for
really?
Miami.
The Dolphins.
Did he really?
Yeah, he was saying.
He has a landscape business. I
Yeah,
think.
and Brian was saying that when they have these kickers try out, okay, they have the first one 35 yards, guy misses it, see ya, you're gone.
Yeah.
First see ya. So you got to make all your kicks or else you're gone, and that's how they do
Of course,
it.
Gostkowski had missed a PAT every game this year. There was a fair amount of talk about him.
Yeah.
Can I mention just a little Daniel Jones story? This is in the Wall Street Journal this week. Good story, not just about him. Headline: College football recruiting is a blind spot for quarterbacks. Daniel Jones comes right to mind, and this is written by Andrew Beaton. He just gets down and he starts with Jones. Jones was so scrawny as a 15-year-old private school quarterback that the best football programs around the country didn't pay much attention to him. And he had injuries in high school. Nobody was paying attention. But then the writer says, but this same frenzy about just getting psyched about a quarterback early on in their high school career also produces an odd inefficiency. The obsession with finding the best quarterbacks produces a system that can fail to identify the best quarterbacks. The reason: the quest to find the best players at the youngest age misses the players who blossom later on. And Daniel Jones, he had a great, senior year in high school. Nobody's paying any attention to him. The Princeton coach notices him, and he commits to Princeton. But of course, there was a Jay Billis connection. He was on the
Played
AAU
basketball with his kid.
team. So there's a quote from Billis. If everyone was telling me, which I guess they were, he was a better quarterback than he was a basketball player, which he was a good basketball player, he was going to play in the NFL, said Billis, who ran the camp that he played at. Anyway, Princeton's the only college that goes after him. And Jones committed to Princeton, and the Princeton coach, Mr. Bob Sorace, believed he had uncovered a gem, which was reinforced when Jones threw for 43 touchdowns and ran for 10 more as a senior. Really, the only school that worried me, Sorace says, was Duke, about someone stealing him away. That is not typically a sentence uttered in college football, but Jones also always had an affinity for Duke and its coach David Cutcliffe, who coached both Eli and Peyton Manning when they were in college. Jones also had trained on the side with David Morris, who runs a quarterback development program and was Eli Manning's backup in college under Cutcliffe. Billis put in a call. Some others did too. The high school coach, Larry McNulty, sends Duke just some film on him, and a great quote from Cutcliffe. Do not send this highlight film to another college, Cutcliffe said. At that point, Loving Jones, the only problem was they didn't have any scholarships left. And just to finish this up, there was one problem. Like everyone else, Duke had promised all of its scholarships already. Duke offered him what's called a gray shirt. Jones would have to pay his own way until the scholarship opened up, which of course it did, but great story. Yeah. It actually brings to mind, it's the reverse. Duke finally got back at Princeton. Guess who committed to Duke, but ended up at Princeton? A pretty good player in another sport.
Bill Bradley.
Very good. Bradley committed to Duke and said, forget it, I'm going to Princeton.
I did not know that.
So Duke finally got its revenge.
And David, I've been telling Duke.
Sam Jones sounds like a heck of a guy. I wish him well.
He's quality. He obviously had something because Gettleman was a gaga.
They love this guy.
And I'll tell you what, after watching the guy from
Dwayne Haskins.
Oh yeah, Dwayne didn't.
I think the Giants made the right pick on that one.
And
Dwayne didn't.
I haven't
have a
seen
good
you
first
on
game.
TV since May, but I've been repeating myself. Daniel Jones went to Duke. Okay, hardly a hotbed. It's a mediocre average. Even they're off to what, 3-1 this year?
Actually, they had I just want to mention in passing, they played at Virginia Tech in the Friday night TV game.
Yeah.
I couldn't watch it. Virginia Tech usually kills them.
They used to have a reputation for academics. I guess maybe some of the kids do study there,
except for their much about the one-on-one.
Except for their basketball team, where those guys only come in for one and done.
Wall Street Journal just came out with its top. I think they did pretty serious. Duke's still top 10. I think it's still a pretty good academic play.
Yeah.
What was I rambling about?
But Daniel Jones, went 17-19 as a quarterback for the Blue Devils. Not one offensive player ever made All-American. Okay, now you flip the coin.
During his tenure.
During his tenure. Dwayne Haskins, your grandson, could probably throw for 30 touchdowns. Haskins threw 50 touchdown passes, but you watch any of the Buckeye games last year, he's threaded with All-American players, okay? No pass rush. Every Ohio State quarterback, okay, succeeded. But not one of them. Name me a good Ohio State NFL quarterback. There is none, okay? They're a product of the system, okay? It's a machine. So Daniel Jones, in my opinion, has turned out this good through adversity, okay? It's easy to go to a program like an Ohio State, Clemson, blah, blah, where nothing bad happens. Duke, you have to fight for everything you get. And through this adversity, through all this hard times, bad times, what we got out of here once we pushed our Play-Doh thing came out was one super intelligent, humble, polite kid. And as much as I love Eli Manning, and I told Duke last week my all-time favorite athletes in my lifetime were Frank Tarkington, Rusty Staub, and Eli Manning. I just love Eli. But Gettleman knew what he was doing, and I don't care that they didn't wait till the 17th position to get him because
I don't think he'd have been there.
Cincinnati wanted him, and Cincinnati's having a bad year. They're going to get one of the top dogs this year. Whether it's 6 or 26, there's a quarterback there that you want, you think you can mold into what you want. You go out and get him. And that's what he did. And I'm not sitting here, I will never predict the greatness of a quarterback. I will not give Nighthawk guarantees on quarterbacks.
Sure.
However, I like what I see so far. There are some warts on him. Fumbled twice 2 weeks ago, intercepted twice.
But after his 2 picks, he kind of regrouped and played a decent
Well,
game.
he can run. He can run
thing.
through some of his mistakes, which Eli never could do.
Yeah,
And then
that
the other
helps.
thing,
That helps.
the two ends of the spectrum. You've got Daniel Jones here and Baker Mayfield here. Who would you want your daughter to go out with?
Well, you know
Baker Mayfield or Daniel Jones?
No.
How would you like your daughter coming home with Baker Mayfield on
No,
her
Baker
arm?
Mayfield's a punk.
Is a punk. Okay, now Daniel Jones, I'm not in the locker room, seems to me the type of guy that would garner respect from his teammates because he looks like the Manning where there is no I in team. It's not about me. And
So.
I feel really blessed that we were able to get this kid.
But just a quick word. So the Duke is playing Virginia Tech, who usually kills them. There have been a couple of recent seasons when the Dukies looked like a decent team. They played Virginia Tech and got demolished, sometimes in a national TV game. I was otherwise occupied. I left Enosburg at about 10 o'clock. It was a TV game, 7 o'clock start, telling people at the party, oh, Duke, I'm missing nothing this game. I'm scrambling to find the game on radio. I got Sirius XM. I finally find it. Maybe one of the ESPN stations. They had the Virginia Tech feed, and I hear the score. 45 to 14? Was it even that? Thinking, oh, they got killed. And then I hear the announcer sounding really down, saying, "What? Duke won?" I mean, what a stunning! It was their biggest conference road win, I think, since 1989.
Wow!
So this may be actually a fairly half decent team.
Our Duke is
I'll
going
be there for Notre Dame.
He's going to the
Oh, well, that'll be
and I'm hoping, my friend Mike, my Duke friend, is trying to get us basketball tickets for the night before, Colorado State or something. And good luck getting into the indoor stadium. He's a big-time Iron Duke. He's telling me we've got a 70% chance to get into the basketball game. So it'd be a fun weekend.
So the Patriots are favored over the hapless Skins, 15.5 points.
It's not enough.
I agree. I will bet you $100 right now, and I'll give you the 15.5 points.
I'd take
Certainly
the
a
over.
game-
I'd take the over if it was 21 points.
The Pats should certainly win the game easily. But Brady's
Brady
coming
was
off an
embarrassed
awful
last
game.
week.
But the Bills are not a bad team.
Yeah.
The defense is certainly
and our
decent.
Giants at home, they're 5.5 point dogs
Against-
to the Vikings.
Against the Vikings.
They. We'll see what they got. If they put up a good fight this week.
Vikings didn't look very good against the Bears the other night.
So NHL season starts tonight.
Tonight?
Tonight,
Some games tonight.
Bruins at Dallas tomorrow night.
And Habs tomorrow night.
Habs at Carolina.
Tomorrow night?
So if I take a minute here, the lineup for the Canadians, forwards, number one line, Philippe Daniel centering Thomas Tatar and Brendan Gallagher. Second line, Max Domi had a great year last year, will center Arturi Lehkonen and Nick Suzuki, who's 20 years old. They got this kid in the Max Pacioretty trade,
Wow.
and he was the gem in the trade. Well, this Thomas Tatar was just a throw-in. He ended up scoring like 25 goals last year. He was on the first line. Third line, and I still can't pronounce the kid's name, Jaspari Kakamani.
Yeah, good luck with that one.
From
Finnish.
Finnish.
Oh, yeah.
Jonathan Joanne, left wing, and the other Finnish kid, Joy Armeni. Fourth line, Big Nate Thompson centering Paul Byron and Jordan Wheel. For defense, Victor Matei, Shea Weber.
You got it.
I'll let you.
Okay, go ahead, grab it.
Thanks, Collie. You're on the best damn sports show in Franklin County. Fire away.
Well, there's no intermediary. This is the direct hookup.
The
Which
sound,
is to say, watch the language. Don't give us any bad language.
The soundboard.
Just kidding.
Well, I mean, there's only one thing that really is worth mentioning tonight, and that's kudos to the Nighthawk for the Nationals come from behind win last night. If ever there's justice, it was done last night because, I mean, they've been just snake bitten for years, and I'm actually happy for them.
Yeah.
What about Sellers? Did some series? You would have thought they had won the World Series last night, but I guess I won't beat them up.
We
too
didn't
much
deserve
about that.
this. I mean, the Brewers lost the game. We didn't win it.
Well, no. This is
You got
between
it. You got
this
it.
is between Nighthawk and I mean, guys, nobody watches baseball like we do that I
Right.
know of.
Yep.
And I mean, I really bow to you. I mean, your team deserved to win just based on all the bad luck they've had in the past. I mean, the Dodgers will have their hands full with this club. They really will. They've got a great starting pitching staff. Their bullpen is a little shaky, but they can hit with anybody.
Yeah.
The Dodgers are not a shoe-in to beat the Nats.
Yeah. I've got the Dodgers in 5 for the record.
Yeah, 5.
Really?
And
I don't.
Going the distance.
And Leonard,
That's not
I
bad.
cannot get a handle on the Braves in the Cardinals series. I went bet a nickel on this series. Enlighten us on this one.
Yeah, I agree, Hawk.
Well, the Braves, the Braves, right now, I don't know. I mean, Acuna's been out for about 10 days. Freeman's got a bone spur. And these are two of their big guys. And I don't know at what level they can perform when they come back. And that's important. But if they play baseball against the Cardinals like they did in the month of August, the Braves will win. After they clinched, they were just so-so, but they weren't playing everybody. They're still, and they're one of the most exciting teams to watch in baseball. Their young players are so enthusiastic, as you know. Albies and Acuna are worth the price of admission alone. When those two are clicking, I mean, there's no dynamic like that in baseball. I don't think so. I haven't seen it. And Albies really, I questioned him last year after the second half, after he hit almost 20 homers in the first half and did nothing in the second half. But he looks like the real deal. He's the Gold Glove second baseman. He'll win the Gold Glove in the National League. He's made a total of 4 errors this year. And he also has the most hits in the National League this year. And Acuna has the most runs in the National League this year. And had Acuna been healthy, he probably would have been the 5th ever 40-40 guy in the history of Major League Baseball. He is the youngest to do 40 and over 35 stolen bases in the history of baseball at 21 years old. But how they're going to do in the playoffs, I think their weak link is the bullpen. They short up the back end, but I'm with you. It's a crapshoot. Yeah. I wouldn't put a lot of money on it either way. I don't. I don't know who's going to perform here. I really don't. But I am sure of one thing: the Braves will be around for years to come.
Yeah. There's no question that Atlanta will dominate that division for the next 10 years. Now, with that being said,
their minor league system is still, pretty tough.
Yeah.
And anyway, I think big news is, Saquon might suit up this Sunday.
He's not playing Sunday.
God.
Is that for sure?
That's for sure. Yeah.
I thought they might just suit him up to be a decoy.
Well,
I don't know if you'd want to take a roster spot if he's just no. There's a chance he can play next Thursday against New England. But as I said earlier,
don't do it.
You really don't want to throw him against New England. They've got a very good defense. They're not going to win.
I wouldn't take a chance.
Right.
I don't think
Crazy.
the Giants know what they're doing.
Right.
Really.
It's better to have him sit down 1 week too long than 1 week too early.
But
Now-
he appears to be way ahead of schedule.
Yes.
He is.
Now, Leonard, what about El Purrier? Was her race today or?
Ellie?
Yes, it was, and she finished 7th in her heat. But that heat, the times were so good compared to the next heat that she qualified for the finals.
And when's the finals?
Sunday, I believe.
Okay.
Now, that was on TV this
No, I
morning.
think it's Saturday.
Really?
I think it's Saturday at 2:30 on NBC.
Now, that is something that is just incredible.
Oh, it is. Farm girl from Montgomery Center.
Yeah, that's right.
I saw her run, was it last year?
At
Hardack. And she just about lapped the field.
Oh, no, she's world class, obviously.
Yeah.
You got a world-class athlete in Franklin County, and that may have never happened before. A world-class athlete.
Well, John LeClaire was pretty good.
John LeClaire kind of comes to mind.
Right, but I'm just saying,
He was a world-class athlete.
This is pretty special.
It is, and she's really what a runner, and that's really fabulous for us.
Yeah,
and for her too.
Leonard, do you know her personally?
I do not. Never have met her.
Okay.
I haven't met her.
I know her boyfriend's family a little bit. We're related. If you go far enough back, we have we are blood relatives to some extent, and which means nothing, obviously. But you got to go pretty far back to get that.
So her boyfriend's from Franklin County?
What's that?
Her boyfriend is from Franklin County?
Right. He's the son of the largest dairy farmer in Franklin County.
As in Mr. St. Pierre?
Yes, right.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's Mr. St. Pierre's son. That's her boyfriend.
Big time farm.
You've got two farmers here in Love.
Huh. Leonard, I've got a.
And by the way, he is in Doha, Qatar, as we speak, with her, as well as I believe maybe her sister.
Really? Well, Leonard, I've got a Boston Globe. The headline goes all across page C4 today in the sports section. Braves add protective netting for NL playoffs. I know Nighthawk will be impressed by Tim Tucker of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution.
Yeah,
big story.
It's all the way down to the foul pole.
Yeah, down to the foul poles. Hawk, you're impressed, I know.
Well, I will never sit in the first level again. I mean, the way to prevent from getting hit from a foul ball is watch the game.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. Why did this problem occur in the last 5 years? Is because people go to the games with their stupid
They're watching a
tweet
game.
machines
No, you're
and
right
their
about that.
headers, so it's never, so anyways.
Yeah, all the way to
No,
the
I
foul
was in
poles.
D.C. a couple years ago, bought an expensive ticket behind the dugout, and at that point, they moved it from the beginning of the dugout to the end of the dugout. So I'm watching a game through a fishnet, and this year, during the All-Star break, they did extend it all the way to the foul
I
pole.
thought you were going to mention our Lake Monsters game.
The Lake
too.
Monster.
Well, if Hawk,
I'm a little more
kinda like
sympathetic.
jumping off the roof. If we don't get UVM football, this is if it does save the life of one 3-year-old, I mean, it's worth it.
Well, I'll tell you, not that I'm Superman, but if I have a 3-year-old with me, I'm going to make darn sure
hopefully
I
watching
watch
what's
every
going on.
pitch.
Yeah, but but you're changing the course of history here. You got to understand the human species. You've watched baseball games before. You've watched football games before. They're texting. They're on their phones. I mean, even people who sit right in the back row behind home plate, they're not in tune to the game much of the time. If you watch them, they're talking to each other. They got that netting there. They pay the big bucks.
Yeah.
They're paying the big bucks,
I may be a dinosaur, but when I go to a ball game, I watch every single pitch because you know what? There's plenty of time to talk in between pitches.
We're kind of like dinosaurs. But I got to admit, you were at Danny Dimes' debut, right?
Yeah.
Hawk was there.
I mean,
Wouldn't have missed it.
I've given you a lot of heat for sitting in the rain at the Meadowlands. Well, not the Meadowlands, but the new Giant Stadium there in the Meadowlands. I'm thinking of the old one. But anyway, I've given you a lot of heat for even going through the effort to go to those games. But that is one game I would have liked to have been to. That looks like that must be one of the highlights of your career.
I mean, the way Jones brought the team down to score, and there's like a minute 20 seconds left.
Fourth down.
And the defenses played great the second half. They stunk it up with Jenkins during the first half. So I thought, we're going to hold or we're going to win. Well, Winston to Evans, bang, bang, bang. And here they are with a 29-yard field goal. And the coach of the Bucs takes on purpose to delay a game. He thought a 34-yarder would be easier. Now, when I got into the ballpark, Leonard, it was just a tremendous amount of Giant fans there with blue jerseys on. I could not believe it. So they kicked the 34-yard field goal, and they're just screaming and cheering. And I already had resigned myself to another loss, and I'm thinking ahead to April for the draft. And, well, all of a sudden, with all this noise, there's blue jerseys just going up and down. I said, what the heck is happening here? What? He missed a 34-yard field goal? Duke could hit a 34. Nobody misses a 34-yard field goal.
You had to be told. You didn't watch it?
No, I was there.
Didn't have a good angle.
It was so loud, Leonard, that you thought the Bucs won the game. But again, there were so many Giant fans there. Now, I was
but you didn't have a good angle on
I
the
was
field
at the
goal.
45-yard line, and it was hard to tell when you miss by that much.
Yeah.
You can't
Right,
tell.
yeah, you got
Right.
Yeah.
parallax there.
Yeah.
That's-
Now, Leonard, real quick, I don't know if you saw the show last week. We're talking about phones in this. Well, as you know, I don't have a phone. I know you have a nice phone. I've seen that at the Elks Club. We were in Honduras. My wife's phone got wet and did not work anymore. No phone. So I go to the customer service and say, I've got a small issue here. Says, I don't have a phone. My wife's phone doesn't work. So I need to get in. Here's the paperwork.
But you said you had bought 2 tickets.
Right. And I had my buddy with me. He also does not have a phone. So she goes, why don't you just use his phone? I go, he doesn't have a phone either. She's about 30 years old. She goes, what? I go, I do not have a phone. He does
Well,
not.
let me tell you, I can guess this already. She used her phone.
No. So
That would have been nice of her to do that.
once she got herself up off the floor, meeting 2 people without phones, she goes, well, you've got a problem here. I go, well, there's no problem. Here's the paperwork. I actually talked to someone in the Bucks organization when I bought the tickets, because ordinarily when I go to events, rarely do they send them to you now. When they do, it's either $3-5 to send them, or you print them at home. So I print them at home. So I called the Bucks and said, there's no way to print tickets at home. Yeah, that's right. You bring your phone and we scan the phone. So when I tell the girl this, she goes, well, this is going to be a while. I go, okay, what's a while?
What's a while?
She goes, 20 minutes. I go, all right, I'll wait right here. She comes back 5 minutes later, not happy, hands me printed off tickets. And she goes, if you want to go to another NFL game, you better get a phone.
Good story. Yeah,
Nice.
that's a good story. Quite frankly, you're very fortunate it turned out as it did.
But Leonard,
That's insane.
Why
Everybody in the world has phones?
and I
No,
said,
no. But why didn't you print out a hard copy at home?
no, you
that
could
where
not.
Before you left?
No, I told you. I called the Bucks organization and said, I just bought tickets, but there's no way to print tickets here at home. They said, no, sir, you don't have that capability. You have to come in with a telephone. We will scan your phone with the tickets.
God.
Okay. And so I tell this 30-year-old girl, I said, look, I'm in my 60s. It's my choice. I like peace and quiet. I said, I value.
You don't even have an ultra 4K high def TV.
I have obviously high def. I don't have 4K. I will get the
You
best.
don't have TV. You really don't have TV.
Well, I think my TV's pretty nice, but
Oh, well, David, will you tell him the difference? I mean,
Well, I don't have my TV is about 10 years old too.
you don't
Mine's
have
about 20 years old.
high def 4K TV.
I've got-
No, I don't.
no, mine's.
You drive these high tech GMCs with the big tailgate.
Yeah, oh yeah, I love those.
Yeah, and you'd have no.
But I don't watch that much TV except for a few sports.
Right.
And,
Well, that's all you need. If you saw one game and you'd change it, it only cost about $400. They're not expensive.
Right. That's not the issue with me, but it's just my TV works fine.
yeah, my TV came from my dad. And so when my dad died, my sisters got all this good stuff, and I got the TV. And the
I
TV.
can't imagine what you had for TV before that.
My old TV before that was a Sony.
Cathode ray.
Was a Sony console, about a 25-incher. That was about 20 years old.
my-
Man, I'm bitter. My black and white TV with rabbit ears that I can't use that in my bedroom.
TV either, then.
Yeah.
We got a newer TV in the bedroom that Carrie watches.
4K.
I don't know how many K it is. It's probably, but it's got a nice picture.
And Leonard, these guys are light years. You don't never talk to me. These guys are light years
I
ahead of
know,
me.
I know
You know
where-
that. I
Now,
know.
Leonard,
I know where you're coming from.
I value my art of conversation. Okay. Now, prior to what I do now, when I was working in South Burlington, part of my job duties, I was a hiring manager. You sat down in front of the Nighthawk and I grilled you. Now, these young people, Leonard, this eye-to-eye contact, forget about it. These kids did not know how to communicate whatsoever. And
Oh,
that's
God, no.
No.
Well, when you look at tablet or smartphone, you're looking down.
Yeah. So I can bump into anyone and have a decent conversation, and I'm proud of that. But for me, talking to Leonard J. Parent on the telephone at night will never happen. The most I'll ever say to you is, Len, I'll see you at the club. We'll have some beers together, or we'll go out for a cup of coffee and talk. That's it.
All my young relatives, and I have many, when I come in contact with them, most of them, when I shake their hand, I make sure they make eye contact. I say,
Good.
look at me.
That's good.
And give me a firm handshake.
Yeah.
I said that will mean so much to you down the line. And it's such a simple thing, but it's true.
Leonard, can I turn the clock back at least 15 years ago, when I had my fresh air kid for about 15 years. He was at the golf course. He was enamored by Leonard Parent on the golf cart. Never been on a golf cart. Joe and I were walking. So he jumped on. Noel, this is my good buddy, Leonard. Leonard, and I heard him. I wasn't close, but I heard Leonard when he was shaking Noel's hand. Leonard said to him, Noel, give me a good firm handshake and look me in the eye. And the kid has always remembered that, Leonard.
Yeah. What is he up to, by the way?
He's in Colorado. He's in the Army.
Outstanding.
Leonard.
And he is hanging in there, right?
Yeah.
Leonard, I got a follow-up on your story. When I was just a little guy living in Swanton, Vermont, my dad was very good friends with Colonel Horton. Do you remember Colonel Horton?
Well, this would be
Bob Horton.
I don't think I knew him, but obviously I know all his relatives.
Right. Well, he was in my dad's office, and my dad says, "Say hi to, shake hands with Colonel Horton." So I shake hands, kind of limp, and he starts swearing at me.
The colonel.
The colonel is shake hands like a blank blank man, and you grab a hand and you shake it. And I've never forgotten that. And that was probably almost 50-something years ago.
Well, it's such a simple thing.
Yeah.
I wish they would do it in school.
Yep.
Start out in elementary.
Well, that you can't do that today.
Right,
Kid how to
touching
shake
another
hands
student.
and
Well-
look somebody in the eye.
Because that enforces gender stereotypes. We can't have that, Leonard.
Well, I'm sorry, but boy, I'll tell you what. When it comes to a job interview, that's half the battle sometimes.
Yeah.
No, it's a lost art. The whole communications between people is really lost.
Well, the Portland, Oregon City Council passed a measure.
No, getting rid of urinals.
Urinals, because I can't remember the
No,
political.
they're too male, I guess, or
Right.
something.
So
Yeah, did you
all
catch that
public
news?
No, I
buildings-
didn't.
In municipal,
What's this?
in Portland, Oregon, in municipal buildings.
Right. So you ladies in Portland, Oregon,
You got to sit
let-
on a seat that somebody peed
Right,
on.
you let the Nighthawk in first, and I'll pee all over the seat because at my age, my accuracy isn't quite there anymore. And you sit down in my pee now, Portland.
That's so wrong.
Well, wait a minute.
We're down to about 2 minutes here, Hawk.
They're measuring the urinals.
No, they got them out. They got rid of them.
Getting rid of them.
They got rid of them.
No, they're right. I mean, gee, that's
Because
too much
they
of a male
enforce
thing.
sexist
Leonard,
stereotypes.
Right. So what a male thing, a urinal. I mean, geez. I think we got to go.
What? I hate to even. I wish you wouldn't have brought this up. I got to go there. I mean, God bless the ladies. And I am not a misogynist. I'm not chauvinistic. I really am not. But ladies, I don't think have ever heard of lint.
Len, we're down to a minute. 1
A
minute.
piece of lint. It's like firing a howitzer off a battleship. If you've got a piece of lint in front of the howitzer, your bullet may not go where it's supposed to.
Hey, Leonard.
I think that's
On
a
that
good
note.
analogy. Actually.
Yeah.
And on that note,
As opposed to using a funnel.
Yeah. Len, you have.
I mean, I'll probably hear about
Yeah,
this, but
probably.
I hope they know where I'm coming from. I'm just trying to cause a little bit of.
Leonard.
I'm just trying to create a little
Yep.
conversation.
We're done.
But no no truisms. More truisms have been spoken
Yeah.
than that.
Len, I have to sign off. Len. I have to sign off. I got 10 seconds.
Gotta go.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye bye.
And that is it. That will conclude this hilarious episode of the Best Damn Sports Show in Franklin County. For our engineer, Zach, for my good pal, the Duke, welcome back, Dave. I'm the Nighthawk. Until next week, everyone, remember, a library card is free, but knowledge is priceless. See you guys next week. Ciao.
See ya.
Wow.